there, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Camilla and today I'm back with another tag. I feel like I haven't done a tag in forever and that was like my second one in a row. So I'm doing this tag which is called Learn a Language Book Tag, and this was created by the lovely Jay at my 0.25 life crisis. I think she's now at 0.27 life crisis. But yes, I love Jay, and we've done lots of video collaborations early on in both our channels, and yeah, so I always kind of love to hear from her. I love her energy. When she created this original tag, because she was learning Spanish, because she's been traveling through Central and South America, which jealous anyway, and I thought this was great. I'm not particularly learning a language at the moment. I'm always kind of diving into a little Duolingo when we go to a country, like we're thinking of going to Italy, so I was refreshing my Italian. We're now booked to go to Portugal in January, so I'm trying to learn some Portuguese, and it's very difficult, like mouth-wise. There's like noise that I cannot make. But I'm not really learning actively any of these languages, you know. What I've been doing, and I started during COVID, is that I'm doing a bit of Duolingo every day with Spanish, and I'm obviously very far down in the course because obviously I speak Spanish. I can read Spanish, I can understand, I can, you know, when we go to Spain and stuff like that, it's not something I worry about because we can get by and it's great. And I know this from, you know, speaking French my whole life, is that verbs are very difficult. So I'm mostly working on verb tenses and stuff like that, and just practicing to have a constant kind of flow of Spanish. And so I decided to do this tag in the Spanish as well. So how does this tag work? You have to translate the questions into the language that you're learning. So obviously I'm doing Spanish here, but if you're learning German, then you may just translate these into German and then you answer the question. The book, I don't think, has to be in that language, so that's not how I've been doing this tag. I've just been going with different things, and I've tried to only pick books that I've read so that I can also recommend them as I go. So let's dive right in. I think there's 8 questions, even better, we love that. So let's dive into the first one, which is a book in the language that you're learning, which is then the prompt is to pick a book that is translated from the language that you're currently learning. Well, I'd written The Shadow of the Wind by Ruiz Zafón, who is a Spanish author, because I've read that one. And it's great, I love it. I could not find it. Maybe I gave it away as a gift, I do not know. Anyway, I do have the second one in the series, which is The Angel's Game. So yeah, it's the second in The Shadow of the Wind. In the Spanish, The Shadow of the Wind is La Sombra del Viento. And yeah, it was great. Very long, but great. I will get to number 2 at some point. Another one by Ruiz Zafón though is The Prince of Mist. This is more YA. So I read this in like a day. I think it was last year or the year before. But this year I decided to pick up the Spanish copy. So we were in Spain earlier this year and I picked this one. So it's El Príncipe de la Nieve. You may know that I've been trying to read Platero y Yo, and I've been struggling. So I decided to go with this one. I just opened it, started reading it, and I understand what's going on. So I feel like maybe the language in the other book was just too difficult to start. Maybe too like literary. So I decided to go with this one. Obviously YA also might be why it's easier to read. But this is also, because it's sort of a reread, I might actually keep this one for December because I'll be participating in the read-a-thon in December. Question number 2 is, what is your name? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to translate. I forgot to translate the first one. Apologies. Okay, what is your name? I would say, ¿Cómo te llamas? Obviously in the familiar context. And it's pick a book with a name in the title. And obviously the first one I thought about was Jane Eyre. And, you know, very well known, great book. I read it for the first time, I think 2 years ago when I did my first Booktober, and I loved it. I think the plot of it kind of interested me less than like the character building and the character arc of Jane Eyre herself. I just love her as a character. I think lesser known but equally amazing is Agnes Grey, another, you know, book with a name in the title. And yeah, I think it's a shorter kind of, it's very reminiscent for me of Jane Eyre, but it's a bit quieter as a book and a bit less kind of epic in that kind of grandiose plot. But yeah, I really enjoy that as well. In number 3 we have I'm sorry I don't understand. Lo siento, no entiendo. Pick a book with a miscommunication. And I mean, what book doesn't have a miscommunication? I feel like that's the basis of plot-driven narrative these days, when the plot isn't very, strong. Because I feel when it's very character-based, sometimes they just go with miscommunication, and then that's kind of what drives the plot. Like the main one I can think about is like Normal People by Sally Rooney, which I also thought I cannot find. So I thought that book was basically just miscommunication the whole time. And obviously it's 2 teenagers, so it makes sense, but still. But the book that I did pick was Sore in Bliss, because to me, she basically has a misdiagnosis from the majority of the book. And I thought that that's a sort of miscommunication, because when it gets cleared up, like she understands so much more about herself and about her context. And I thought that was really good. And it's kind of a bit of the story that really pushed this book for me. Like it became like a 4.5 star for me because of that. Then number 4, we have How Much Does It Cost? Quanto cuesta? Pick a book about money. And I was like, I do have a book about budgeting, but I was like, it's a bit dry. So I decided to go with Crazy Rich Asian trilogy. So we have The Crazy Rich Asian, which is the first one, which was made into a movie, which doesn't follow the book much. Then the second one, China Rich Girlfriend. And then the final one, Rich People Problems, which I actually really enjoyed, because this last book kind of ties in all of the other stories and all the different people that we look into almost like an intergenerational kind of saga, although it's very lighthearted, obviously, and the money isn't like, they're not struggling with money, obviously. It's more of like it's a rich people problems, right? But yeah, I thought that would be a good one. But I'm sure there's plenty of other examples, but I thought I'd pick something kind of fun that I really enjoyed. Kevin Kwan got me out of my reading slump during COVID, so I'm very thankful to his writing. Question number 5 is, or prompt number 5 is, where is? ¿Dónde es? Or ¿Dónde está? Which is then to pick a book about a place. And I picked 2 things. I picked The Lido by Libby Page. This is very specific about this one Lido. So it's a very specific place. It's a specific Lido in London, and it's basically this girl who's a journalist, and she's told to go and write a story about the fact that it's closing, and then she starts being basically intertwined with the people who go there, including one of the elderly lady who's basically been going there her whole life. That's where I don't know if that's where she met her husband. That's where they potentially had their first date, and like a bunch of things. Like it's very, very close to her, and she doesn't want to lose it, and it's kind of the community around the Lido. So I thought that was a good one. And then, more broadly speaking, we have The Year of Living Danishly, Uncovering the Secrets of the World's Happiest Country by Helen Russell, because obviously it is very much about Denmark, which is a place. And this actually, the tie-in with the language thing is that basically when I read this book, I was obsessed for like a year and a half with moving to Denmark. So I actually did like Duolingo for a year for Danish, and I was like properly learning it. We went to Denmark. It rained the whole time. It was miserable. It's still beautiful though. But anyway, and also I lived in Scotland. That's saying a lot. But anyway, we went to Denmark, and I could recognize words. So that's what my 1 year and a half of learning Danish got me. I was like, that's chicken. But yeah, it was really difficult as well, like mouth-wise. Like there are sounds that I was like, I can't do this. Like with Icelandic, I've been learning a bit of Icelandic as well. It's very difficult. I think, I'm at an age, like I think once you reach a certain age, like you like physiology, like your mouth, it starts becoming more like there's harder to be able to produce sounds that in your native language is harder to do. Anyway, excuses. But this was a good book though. I really enjoyed it. In number 6 we have How Are You? ¿Cómo estás? Pick a book about emotions, or a book that made you feel emotions. And well, I thought I would go with the book that I finished this morning, which is Small Worlds by Caleb Zubin Nelson. And maybe because I'm, PMSing like, but in the last 2 days I've been reading this book, and there were multiple places where my eyes were like just really watery because I was having a lot of emotion. This book was really good. I loved Open Water. This book felt quieter to me, but it still packed so much emotion, and I just love how he does vulnerability really well. And I think that it's almost like very refreshing to read. Like, it's obviously a male author writing in the perspective, obviously it's a main male character, and it's very, very vulnerable, and I thought it was beautiful. And there are moments, you know, with grief and anger and sadness and depression that it's not that I connected with it, but I really felt them, the heartbreaks and everything, and I thought it was beautiful. And when I thought of emotions, obviously, because I just finished it, it just very much felt like I needed to mention it. So the last prompt is pick a word at random in the language you're learning, and then pick a book with that word in the title. So I have a dictionary. Let's pick a word at random. Close as in shut fast. Okay, so close as in shut. So that would be cerrado, cerrada in Spanish, depending on what is closed. Okay, let me think for a second. Oh, I got one. Okay, I was about to give up and be like, okay, I'm gonna pick a different word, but I got A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. So it has closed, yes. Although in the context, I can't quite tell what it means, if it's just near or shut, but whatever. I found one in my library. I love it. This is breaching my rule of books that I have read and that I recommend, because I have not read this one yet, which is, you know, I can't believe it. I love the first one, which is right next to it. But yeah, it's good. And now that it's out of the library, I should stay out, which is the problem, because my bedside table is just piling up, because I always do that. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I'll have to remember to read this one. So yeah, so that was the tag from Jay. I loved it. It was great. The last prompt is please and thank you. Por favor y gracias. And it's to tag friends and then say thank you for watching. So what people I'm going to tag is Jess from Stalking Kafka, Kier, the Scrivener, and I'm going to also tag Elizabeth from Booking and Books. And obviously do if you want to join, obviously. And yeah, so it's really fun. I would highly recommend that you join if you want. It's just a fun one to highlight some books and, you know, discuss a little bit if you're learning a language or not, you know, or if maybe a language interests you. Then it's a good way to Google a couple of things that might be useful. But yeah, anyway, thank you, as the prompt is saying, thank you, gracias, for watching. And you know, as always, I just, you know, always appreciate you watching. Leave a thumbs up and follow, and hey, see you back. Bye.